Welcome, everybody. I'm Sari Custer, Chief of Science and Curiosity here at Arizona Science Center, and I'll be your host today for the 2022 Arizona Science and Engineering Fair Public Day. I'm super excited to introduce you to our special guest speaker for today's, our last session of Public Day today, Prisha Shroff. Prisha was an Arizona Science and Engineering Fair 2021 first place winner in the computer science category and the winner of the Lemelson Award for Invention as part of the Broadcom Masters competition for her project on wildfire prevention using an AI-based system. Prisha's talent and passion for computer science has earned her additional recognition as part of Intel's Software Innovator Program, the National Center for Women in Information Technology, Wells Fargo's Sustainable Earth Innovation Award, the 3M Young Scientist Award, and as one of 16 innovators to watch in 2022 from the Smithsonian. Prisha currently attends Hamilton High School in Chandler, Arizona, and we are so happy to have you as part of our community and here today. Welcome, Prisha.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. And, I know we're going to hear a lot from you. I'm going to stop sharing this screen just to open it up, make it a little bit bigger for us. But, I think first off, you've won so many incredible awards and I want to hear about that project, but let's start with the basics. How did you get involved in technology in the first place?
Yeah, so I'm Prisha, like she said, and I'm actually a freshman at Hamilton High School. And I actually got into technology when my mom, who's a software engineer, had brought home an Arduino board, and it used a digital clock to tell me the time. And it was really at that age, I was like, how do you do this? How do you use an Arduino board to tell the time? And so that started when I started asking questions about how does everything work? And if you can use Arduino boards to tell the time, what else can you use them for? And so that's what really got me into the mindset of creating things using technology. And so one of my first projects was actually a solar powered drone. This was my 5th grade science fair project where I was in my drone club at school, and I saw that the drones that we were flying, after 5 minutes, they would die and the battery would run out. And so as a result, I decided to create a solar powered drone so that way the flight time of this drone could increase. And so that's what really got me inspired into this. And I would also say that the elementary school that I went to, every single day we would use the scientific method and the engineering design process. And that really got me into that STEM mindset. And that's how I am where I am today.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like a lot of just the right combination of support and interest that got you into this really incredible project that's taken you, from your home fair all the way up through the states and international competition. So I think we'd like to hear a little bit more about that specific project that you've been working on. Can you share some of it?
Yeah. So my research was on the creation of an artificial intelligence-based wildfire prevention, detection, and suppression system. So one of the biggest things is that wildfires really do pose a serious threat to our world's environment. Forests account for more than 30% of the world's land surface. And these burning forests release huge amounts of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, which contributes to climate change. In 2020, we saw that there were around 58,250 wildfires and more than 10.3 million acres burnt in the US alone. I was actually inspired, though, to solve this problem when my family was victims of the wildfires when visiting California. Some of my friends had to evacuate their homes. Their houses were destroyed and the air pollution was so bad that we couldn't even step outside of our house. And this really led me to realize that there is a compelling need for a solution that can prevent these wildfires. And that's where my artificial intelligence-based wildfire prevention, detection, and suppression system was born. So there's 4 main steps of how it works. There's pre-processing, learning, identification of hotspots and wildfires, and then drone deployment. So the overall way that it works is it uses satellite and meteorological data from NASA and NOAA of multiple parameters to predict for where a wildfire can occur in the future, which is known as the hotspot. It basically uses these 6 parameters to predict what is that suitable environment for a wildfire to occur. And if it's detecting the wildfires, it uses things like vegetation, temperature, CO2, ozone, and so many others to really figure out where are those active wildfires. And then what it does is it identifies those hotspots and wildfires, and it actually then will send a drone to the location to spray fire retardant. If it's a hotspot, which are those areas where wildfires can occur in the future, it'll spray that entire area with fire retardant. And if it's an active wildfire, then they'll spray around it so that way it can suppress the wildfire. So that's really the basis of how my system works. So what my system uses is artificial intelligence. And in artificial intelligence, there's machine learning. And in machine learning, there's supervised and unsupervised learning. Supervised machine learning is basically where I train my artificial intelligence model to tell it, okay, this is a hotspot, this is not. This is a wildfire and this is not. And so I input that into my classifier. And then what it does is it classifies, and then it learns those patterns, and then it classifies this on its own. And so that's what a random forest classifier does. This random forest classifier that I use uses a series of decision trees to reach the most accurate decision. What a decision tree basically is it's like a series of yes or no questions, which help you determine, is this a hotspot or not? And is this a wildfire or not? And basically using those decision trees, you can, there's multiple of those. And so the decision that appears the most is how it predicts what is those hotspots and what are those wildfires. And so that's why I use a random forest classifier in my model. So that was a little bit of technical details about artificial intelligence. And so then afterwards, I tested my model to see how did it work. And so what I realized is my system was able to attain a 98.6% accuracy in identifying those hotspots, or those areas where wildfires could occur in the future. And it actually was able to attain a 98.7% accuracy in identifying those wildfires, those active wildfires in the area. And so what I realized is that the power of the system that I've developed, if I can apply it to any location in the world to identify hotspots and detect those wildfires, and then send a drone to that location to spray fire retardant, preventing and suppressing those wildfires. Hopefully, if we use this solution, I can help prevent climate change, save precious lives, preserve and protect ecosystems, biodiversity, and avert those huge economic losses. So that was basically a quick summary of my system. And yeah.
Thank you for that. This is an incredibly complex project. And I think one of the things that's striking for me, I mean, not only just, well, the whole thing, but, the fact that you are using artificial intelligence and machine learning in such a unique way. And I think there's a lot of folks out there at all levels who, I don't want to say are afraid of AI, but they hear it and they get automatically back off saying, oh, that's super complicated. So how did you, as a high school student, get involved with using AI and start to understand it to a level where you can actually use it and not just understand it or talk about it, but really use it?
Yeah, so I had actually over the summer of 2020, I had been reading science news magazines, and I had heard about this big concept called AI. And I was really curious to see what even is that artificial intelligence. So then I did a bunch of research and I read through a lot of articles and I realized what artificial intelligence is. And I learned the basics of like the supervised and unsupervised machine learning. And then also how there's this thing called deep learning. And so after learning all of that, I actually took 2 courses. A Udacity course, intro AI, I think it was AI with programming with Python, and then also a Kaggle course of introduction to machine learning. And that's where I learned my basics of machine learning. And so then whenever I like hit a roadblock when coding, I would use like Google as one of my like best friends to help me understand what was happening and then how do I fix it.
That's awesome. That takes a lot of initiative to just go out and start learning and taking courses, and you're learning Python, of course, too. That's all right. That's fantastic. In this project, you've used a lot of different technology, and of course, you're applying it in a unique way and in a helpful way for the community. But is there anything that you learned in the course of developing this project that was really surprising for you?
So I actually learned that nothing is impossible and you shouldn't give up. And I would say it seems like, oh yeah, it's just like a general thing that everyone learns. But actually while creating the system, I was faced with many roadblocks. And I would say that the fact that I would learn as much as I can to try to resolve the issues, I realized that nothing is impossible. When I started, I was like, oh yeah, I want to solve this global problem of wildfires. How do you even do that? How do you even get started into it? And so then what I did is I actually broke down the problem into steps, and I figured out, okay, how can I create the solution? So I started off with, okay, maybe I'll use AI, or maybe I'll use some sort of code to predict where can these areas occur, and then I'll have a drone deployment system. And so then continuously like breaking it down and then working on it one step at a time, I was actually able to build my system. And so like the one of the like biggest hurdles that I'd done is originally when I was creating my model, I had actually used image processing, where I like downloaded an image from the web and then I uploaded it into my model, and then I had it identify, okay, where are those hotspots or where are those wildfires? And it was a manual, tedious process, and I actually got an accuracy of 33%. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? How did I do this? So that's where I continued doing a little bit more research, and I realized that maybe I should use artificial intelligence, which is basically using those using those machines that act like humans. And so that's how I like started like progressing towards artificial intelligence. But then I was like, what model do I use and how do I do it? So then that's where I continued to research. And I realized throughout this entire process of developing it, that like, honestly, nothing really is impossible, and you just need to take the problem one step at a time.
That's a great lesson. So thank you for sharing that with us. I also think it's really exciting to see that, again, someone right from our Arizona community has gone up through all these competitions, and your work is being recognized by so many different organizations. You've won amazing awards. If I recall, the Lemelson Award, it was a massive award, correct?
Yeah.
$10,000 at Broadcom, you said? That's impressive. Congratulations, first off. So, once you get to that level, and I think this was starting as a junior, how do you go up then? How do you add on? What's next for that project? What are you thinking?
So right now, I actually have, since like my artificial intelligence model is basically developed, I'm working on creating that drone deployment system and making it so that way it can actually go to any area across the globe. So what my current work is that I'm working with the ASU or Arizona State University Luminosity Lab to develop a drone that can carry and spray fire retardant using GPS to any location. And then I would also, like, what I noticed is that Intel actually has the capabilities to deploy multiple drones simultaneously, as we saw in the Olympics. So I actually want to work with them to see, can we deploy a swarm of drones to a location? Because if it's an active wildfire, those are usually huge. So multiple drones would be necessary to suppress the wildfire. So one of my biggest things, though, like future goals, is to actually have the system deployed in fire departments across the world. So that way we can really prevent, detect, and suppress those wildfires. So whatever I do in the end, I really want to make that happen. And so that's currently my steps towards it.
That's awesome. And having worked with some of the folks in the Luminosity Lab before, that's quite an honor in and of itself to be working with that group. It's a great brain trust. I know we have some other AzSEF alum who are involved in that project as well. So I'm excited to see where you take this, especially now that you've just got other players in your game helping you along too. All right. So as we think about the future, then not just for this project, Prisha, what's for you? What are you thinking for, post-secondary education and, so college and career and beyond? What are you thinking?
So my goal is to be an inventor who's creating solutions to real world problems using STEM. And the reason is because I really have a passion for this, and that's why I started since a young age. So whatever I do, I really want it to be geared towards creating those solutions to solve those real world problems, because I would say that like our world is actually a very like great environment, and I want it to stay that way for the future generations. So that's really what I want to work towards.
Excellent. And are there any other areas of science right now? So you're obviously pretty involved in environmental and thinking about wildfire specifically. Are there any other areas of science, technology, engineering, math that really get you excited, or things that you're interested in, like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes or this project goes, things that are happening now that may take off in the future or otherwise?
I would actually say that like, now that I'm thinking about it, I would say really all areas of STEM, because I would say that like even in the medical field, like there's so much more that can be created and so much technology that's being developed. And like from that to even like computer science and the whole artificial intelligence. So I wouldn't say that like I have specifically like decided that like versus like science, technology, engineering, and math. But like right now, I really have the passion for all of it, and using like multiple fields of like science and technology, engineering, and math to create those solutions. So ideally, like this is also environmental science, but it's also computer science, because I am using that AI aspects. So, and then with the drones, you can also add in that engineering aspect too. So
Fantastic. Thank you again for sharing that. I want to make sure that I'm checking for any questions from our audience today. If you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat or in the Q&A box. But one of the things I want to hear, Prisha, from you also before we end today, I know we're coming down to the last couple minutes, but advice for others. There are a lot of other teens out there who are excited about science, but maybe don't know where to start. And considering you've had such success in your projects and just the endeavors you're undertaking, what would you share with them that could help get them started?
So my advice would actually be to be curious, to dream big, and to never give up. I would say don't just hope it happens, you should strive to make it happen. And that's something that I've learned through all of these years when I was developing my solutions. And I would say that just like if you be curious and you ask questions, you'll definitely find something that you can work on and that you'll find a passion to. And I would actually say that one of the things that I developed to create the opportunities for younger students, or not even younger students, for my peers in high school, is this club called AzSEF. It's a research and innovation club. And basically what we do is any students who have any ideas, we help them create it into actual products, like working as a team. And so currently we're actually working on 2 products to help our Hamilton High School. And so I would say that it's a really fun experience and it's a fun journey. And it's so exciting to see how everyone has such great ideas and how we can really make it into products. So.
Thank you for that. I love that. Those homegrown, finding problems and finding solutions for ways to help in your own community. So right at school. Thank you. That's all great advice. We do have a question from our audience. It is, have you considered that there might be a lower ability in jobs for firemen and how it would affect our community with the project that you're working on?
That's actually a really good question. So one of the things that I would say is that, wait, what you said, it was a lower ability? Yeah. So I would just say that one of the things though is the whole point of the system is to save the lives of even firemen. And I would say that right now I met so many people who actually have people who have to parachute, who are family members who have to parachute into the fires and are in the front lines. And it's actually a really scary experience. So hopefully by removing that need for those solutions, they can maybe work in an area where it's not as much of a risk to their safety. I feel like I kind of answered the question. But
yeah, thank you. Any other questions from the audience before here? Oh, answer live. Got to always mark those in the Q&A box. Sorry, our timing is perfect. So one of the questions, of course, that I always like to ask, which is one of my silly questions, is, what is it that you do to take care of yourself? What are the fun things that you do to make sure you're taking care of yourself with all this work that you have going on?
That's actually a really good question. And some of the stuff that I really like doing is, and I really found this after COVID and being stuck at home for 6 months, I actually found out that I really enjoy baking food with my brother, especially desserts, because I have a really sweet tooth. And then I would also say traveling with my family, because both of those are really fun ways for me to spend time with my family and really decompose after doing all of the projects that I'm working on. Yeah. And I also would say I really love the arts too. I love singing, dancing, and playing the piano. So whenever I need any alone time, I'll just go and sit on the piano and start playing the song. So
do you have a favorite thing to bake?
I would actually say that me and my brother make really good blueberry crumble. It's
that's very specific. Blueberry crumble, no less. Okay. Well, we'll have to try it out sometime. We'll do it as a science of cooking, science of baking, and have to do it. Blueberry crumble. Excellent. Well, that is the end of our time today. If anybody in the audience has additional questions, by all means, send them on and we will pass them on to Prisha. But Prisha, thank you so much for your time and sharing with us today about the great work you're doing and, just being an amazing ambassador for STEM here in Arizona.
Yeah, of course. I'm so glad that I had this opportunity to speak with you today.
Yes. And you're competing in AzSEF this year as well, correct?
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you. We hope everything goes well for you and all the other competitors this year. So again, that brings us to the end of Arizona Science and Engineering Fair Public Day. Of course, AzSEF does continue tomorrow. Judging is over. We're on to the fun parts. You can explore the projects online. If you go online to azscience.org/AzSEF, you can find the links to exploring the virtual projects there. Also, the award ceremony is tomorrow at 10 a.m. So Saturday at 10 a.m. And you can find out the outcome of all the fabulous work that's done here in Arizona this year. But for now, we are all done. Great job again. Prisha, thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for having me.